we actually shut down the website for 12 days to catch up with orders. And that was a milestone, and also in my opinion, a period in our story that it's before and after.
Yeah.
Because once we did that, we assumed, okay, it's time to stop just the scaling mode and take care of who we care the most, that is our customer.
Yeah.
And that completely changed. And I say that quite often, between being a product and selling waterproof shoes to becoming a brand. That to me was a big divisor.
Yeah.
Divisor.
All right, Gabe. This is long overdue talking. Thank you for joining us. It's I know you're a few hours ahead, but thanks for hopping on.
Of course, my pleasure. Happy being here.
For those that don't know Gabe from Vessi, go ahead, give a little background on yourself, and we'll jump into things.
Cool. Of course. So I've been with the company with Vessi since day one. I bought the first ad when we ran an MVP test to actually validate the hypothesis that people wanted a waterproof shoe. Since then, a lot of things have happened, and I'll share a few of those with you. And you know quite a few of those too, as a great partner. But I started in ads probably 5 years ago. I was running. I had a theory that I could run ad sets at $1 and get cheaper clicks to actually generate revenue through AdSense. So I was driving traffic to websites to try to get AdSense to pay me more than the traffic I was buying. And I did that for a while. I got to meet one of the founders of Vessi in one of those crazy conversations about Facebook ads.
Yeah.
And they said, come to work with me in a different project. I need a contractor on it. I started that. And at some point we were scaling that brand, and he came with a weird looking shoe, and showed me, hey, we're going to test this. And we were, at the time, doing a few Kickstarter campaigns, so we were becoming quite good at Kickstarter. So we said, we're going to launch it there. I said, come on, Adidas, Nike, Reebok. Why we were trying this? It's not going to work. And he said, no, we have a patented material here. It's worth testing. I ran what I was expecting a good marketer would do. I would basically run an MVP and test traffic. So I created a very silly ad of just me pouring water in the shoe. I still have that video somewhere. And we ran to a landing page, and we were getting cheap leads under like the 25 cents. Yeah. And then I said, whoa, there is something here. And then we scaled that. We started testing it. We launched the Kickstarter campaign, and that Vessi started. So we launched the first campaign. We hit over $1 million in revenue on the first shoe.
And on Kickstarter?
On the Kickstarter campaign, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, on the
so
first.
Where was that in terms of Kickstarter? So comparing the $1 million on Kickstarter to others, how did that compare to others that were trying to do a similar?
Yeah, at the time we didn't have any waterproof shoes on Kickstarter, so we were actually the first product on that category, I would say. Yeah. We had done other very successful campaigns, but under the $1 million, so we hadn't broken through that layer yet, and so we did it. Was quite successful, I think. We really embrace the community, and we're engaging with customers in a very different way. Our founders were replying to every message, and I think that made the difference. Yeah. Once we launched the first product, and because Kickstarter is so community based, we got so much feedback that we actually had another product already to launch just based on feedback on things that people wanted that were not there, or even simple improvements. Yeah. So once we started shipping the first one, we started the second Kickstarter. Right after, and with that we opened Shopify as well to start getting pre-orders there too. With the second, we did even more. We hit 1.7 between Kickstarter and then Indiegogo. We launched both. And from there, kind of the rest is history. It's been scaling since then. It's been just 3 years. The company just celebrated our third year, and and we were a team of four, the three founders and myself. We're now a team of 41.
Man.
And that is proportional. Everything is kind of going the same pace in terms of new products, revenue, everything.
Yeah. So I think when we started working together about almost 2 years ago, I think it'll be 2 years in June or July. Because I still remember you still had the Indiegogo campaigns and analytics. Yeah. So what were some of the challenges that you were facing back then? 2 years ago, it probably seems like 20 years ago, but what were some of the challenges back then that drew you guys to Elevar?
Well, I think understanding what to measure. At the time, we were doing 100 things. Well, we still do that, kind of juggling a bunch of things at the same time. But we needed a partner, or we needed people that had expertise already, that we're not just breaking our heads against the wall every time. I think it's important to do that, to go through that exercise, but not always. So bringing someone that says, I stop testing buttons, green or black, it's not that we move the needle, but let's start being more effective in what you test. That was quite important. And you guys already had an amazing client list that, we look up to those guys. Why not partner with them too? Yeah. So that was one. And of course, understanding the customer. We're coming from a very Kickstarter-based community where they're very techy. They skew towards one specific gender. They skew more towards men. Yeah. And we didn't know quite what to do when becoming a website. Okay, now we're going to target who? Because our lookalikes are all biased. They're all based on that community. So the challenge of understanding who this new customer would be, we went through a lot of iterations and exercises until we get. Well, we're always doing that, but we felt that we found a sweet spot to scale. Yeah,
always be testing. That's the phrase.
Always.
So 2 years, and when you look back at the last 2 years that we've worked together, what are some of the things that stand out, results, anything that stands out in our partnership that continues to grow and thrive together?
Well, I think we as a team improved a lot too. We evolved. I would say you guys on your end, I hope myself and the brand as well. In terms of milestones, we tripled in size from that beginning to now, just revenue wise. It's quite a milestone for us, and our conversion rate also went up quite a bit. And we drive a lot of paid traffic that we know is known by its low conversion rates. So having that mix and having you guys supporting us in always testing, we have a strong routine we have a backlog of a lot of tests that we want to run. So there is not that delay on, what next? We know what's next, and keep pushing that. And just yesterday, we were checking results of a test with Kirby that was incredible. Was something that you guys brought in. It wasn't something that Vessi provoked. I've seen that happening. I think you guys should test as well. We tested. We put our spin to it. We tested, and we saw 10-12% lift. Right there. That is music for any marketer. So.
No, if you can just get 10% improvements over time, or back to back to back, that would be that'd be magical. So I would say, just based on knowing our customers and those that have gone through the Kickstarter campaigns, you hit those milestones, the first $1 million in revenue, maybe the first $2 million in revenue before you even really opened your Shopify store. And so when you went to the point where you said, okay, we're opening our Shopify store, now we're going to start scaling, did you have a milestone in mind? Like, okay, we're at our Shopify store. Here's what we've done on Kickstarter. Here's the first milestone that we want to hit on your store. Did you have that in mind?
Everything happened so organically, to be honest. Shopify came from the need of people that didn't get Kickstarter. We were getting people saying, I land on that thing and I don't know where to click. So we need another solution for you. And then Kickstarter came, Shopify, the platform, the e-com came in. And suddenly we started getting pretty much the same amount of traffic coming to both.
Yeah.
And then, so there was not necessarily a milestone right away. There was a need that we were trying to accomplish. And from there, the biggest challenge we had, and I actually didn't mention that, but was, well, at least half of the time we have been working together, that was the big challenge, that was inventory.
Yeah.
That was to a point where we actually shut down the website for 12 days to catch up with orders. And that was a milestone, and also in my opinion, a period in our story that it's before and after.
Yeah.
Because once we did that, we assumed, okay, it's time to stop just the scaling mode and take care of who we care the most, that is our customer.
Yeah.
And that completely changed. And I say that quite often, between being a product and selling waterproof shoes to becoming a brand. That to me was a big divisor.
Yeah.
Divisor.
That's probably going to be the most interesting milestone. I think that to hear you had to shut down your site for 12 days to catch up on inventory. Looking back, and again, you guys have grown. You've grown so fast. Is there anything you do differently up to that milestone? Like, what have you learned? Is there anything operationally? Is it forecasting, and anything that others that might be looking or watching this that can learn from your huge success, but also some of the 2020 hindsight, so to speak?
I think there is always things to improve, and a big one was we were trying to be cautious in terms of inventory for many different reasons, right? In terms of cash flow, in terms of even understanding the market.
Yeah.
And that kind of backfire in a way that we could have scaled even faster than we did. And the whole shutdown experience was quite nerve-wracking as well. We wanted to make sure people understand we didn't close our doors. Yeah. It's not that we're broke and they won't get the product. Was quite the opposite. Was showing it's because we care, and we're going to make sure we're going to address all of you. So we did a lot of things during those 12 days for people to know we were alive. Yeah. So we were doing showing the back end of things and showing people at the warehouse and products being shipped. That really changed first how we approached the whole customer experience, as well as changed the perception from the customer.
Yeah. So again, it's I don't think I even realized it's only been 3 years. I think I saw on LinkedIn when you had your 3-year anniversary, and I was like, there's no way. It's impossible knowing where you all are today. So with that in mind, and your likely ambitious goals for the next 3 years, how do you all as a company approach allocating resources? So are you building out the team? So you're 40 plus people now. How does that come into play? Where again, you go from the Kickstarter days where it's, hustle. And now you're a scaling, unicorn, so to speak. And how do you go about that process? How do you go about that process of allocating your resources and making those decisions internally?
I think you hit the nail on the first thing. It was bringing people to the team. For a long time, I wore so many hats. I still wear some. But still, we're now understanding that we not only need people, but we need expertise. So we all grew with the company and learned together. And now we're trying to bring a little bit of oxygen from the industry. So trying to get people that have accomplished things that already know the path, like when we got you guys as partners. Trying to bring that also in-house. So that is definitely a main one. The other one is evolving the product. And I know it's been just 3 years, but we have so many things on the back burner that we want to launch. And just this year, we're going to launch 12 different products. And that is what we want. We're going to try, we're going to risk. We're going to have, moving forward, June 1st onwards, a launch every week, or a colorway, or a new drop. So for that, I need people, I need team, and an analogy that I already used with you before. The way I see those milestones is, and because I'm Brazilian, I guess I'll go towards soccer in terms of analogy, but we were in a different league. And that was the first league that we compete on. Now that we are moving leagues as we grow, we need better players, bigger team, better equipment.
Yeah.
So those are all the things that we're trying to put in place to be able to achieve that. And the challenge with that is keeping the same culture, because for a long time we were just a few people on the table just discussing ideas.
Yeah.
Now we need structure. Putting those processes in place is quite a thing that we're trying to learn together, because we haven't done that before, at least not as a team.
Yeah, so you're at the scale now where it's going to be more expensive to learn on the fly and make those mistakes and have to shut down the site for 12 days. So now you're investing in finding those who have been there. So it's almost like you're buying or investing in that solution and that knowledge for those that have been there, done that. So that's a smart way to think about allocating resources for sure. I think the other interesting thing that we like to ask people like you is what are some key data points? I mean, obviously we talk data a lot, and data is a lot of what we help enable and focus on at Elevar, but what might be some unique data points that you leverage either historically or what you're starting to get into now as you're scaling faster? Is there anything unique that's like, here's 2 or 3 data points that we're using that you feel like are unique to your company and Vessi?
Yeah, I think we created together a few that are quite unique to us, and that was more when we're trying to understand the customer journey, main pain points when people are navigating. And those are some that we created as just tag manager events that became our go-to to understand a few things. One that is quite key was an event that you and I created when I was complaining about trying to understand what was the core barrier for the site. And we know its size, but we don't know how to measure. Yeah. And then, let's put an event there. If anyone clicks that, let's provide the information and try to gauge what they do after. We noticed at the time, if I'm not wrong, that people that clicked and went through that funnel were about 10% conversion rate as the number. That is insane for e-com.
That's the fit guide.
And then we changed, the fit guide, exactly.
Yeah.
And since then, we've tested different solutions to improve fit guide. We basically started retargeting events that were part of that journey, and compounding all those small tweaks that we did here and there, plus all the targeting that I was able to build around it. We generated a lot of revenue and improvements towards conversion rate and customer experience overall. So that is a bit unique to Vessi that we built together. Because we're evolving, the other side of it is understanding lifetime value. That is a new thing for us. Now with 3 years, it's time to really look into it. But then you need to clean the data. So if I could go back, like you're asking, I would have built our data, and then I'm not only talking about traffic, I'm talking about revenue, orders, how orders are broken down a bit better, just so now I would have a more clear understanding of our past. And now I'm having to do that, go through the exercise of looking back, and it's never that clean, but now we're building the foundation for the next step too.
That's a great, we'll make sure to include that as the learning lesson is building that data infrastructure and CRM infrastructure early, because it can be hard to back into it with the volume that you're at. So the event tracking, just for those that may not get the context of what we're referring to. So obviously with shoes and sizing it's a very, does it fit or does it not? You want to try it on. And especially with COVID, that's really prevented that for most of us to be able to do that in store. So understanding that nuance of going a half size up or half size down. So what we did was understand what are people interacting with in the size, push that event data to, I think, Klaviyo and Facebook, where that enabled you to build those remarketing audiences. And also then just use that to drive a UX, so a better UX of making that part of the add to cart experience versus just sending user off to a size guide CMS page that typically they're boring, they're ugly, it's a big table and no one's going to read all of it and probably looks terrible on mobile. So I think what you all came up with and we helped leverage the data behind that is really really amazing. So the future, you're spending so much time thinking about the the next year, maybe, or 3 years, but where do you see the future in e-com with everything that's happened in the last year, and with, again, your goals and objectives? Where do you see the future of brands and D2C and everything that you have on your belt experience wise?
I think outside the obvious of the platforms evolving and providing even better experiences and different channels, we've tested AR before. That was incredible in terms of user engagement. In terms of revenue, wasn't that amazing, but the 3D, it paid for it. Yeah. At least the experience that we tested didn't show that amazing results. Increasing engagement, but not that high. So the evolution there and the improvements there, I'm sure, will be major for products like ours, where not only the fitting that we were talking about, but also how it looks on you. That is quite important. So as the platforms evolve on that side, I feel that will definitely bring some changes in behavior. Yeah. But the other side, once hopefully COVID goes away and people are back outside, and we've seen that trend already happening, is creating the experience of the offline merging with the online. Yeah. So being able to go to spots where people can try, in our case, to jump in puddles and have that unique experience of putting their shoe underwater and their feet are still dry, we need to provide that. But at the same time, we don't need to go through the whole infrastructure of a whole retail store. Yeah. We can do that through events and through pop-ups and through many different ideas you have in terms of trucks and taking people there and creating events around it. So I think that is where the experiential aspect will come back. And I think we were seeing that trend, and then because of COVID, it stopped. Once people can be already seeing each other, be around each other, I think that is coming back really, really hard. Yeah.
Any brands that stand out that you've seen either pre-COVID or that are starting to do now, those pop-up? The truck is interesting. I haven't heard that one before, but yeah, the pop-up stores or the traveling pop-up stores. Any brands out there that you see today that are executing that well?
We've seen Warby Parker doing that quite a bit. Actually, a year and a half, 2 years, no, even more now. So probably 2-3 years ago. So that is definitely a benchmark. In terms of shoe brands, I haven't seen it. We know brands that create retail stores that were D2C and now are in the retail space, but that is not quite what I'm mentioning. I'm talking about that unique experience of getting immersed into the brand for a period of time, becoming hopefully a loyal customer, and then we go next. What is the next place we're going, and so on. I haven't seen that many, at least on the shoe space.
Yeah, that you'd be an early one there. I know Bonobos was another one that they started opening up all over the place and have a little, like the fitting rooms, and then that would carry on to your online profile, or then they were just, maybe that was the barrier to entry for them, was the fitting and the size like you all had. Any other, for those that maybe are aspiring to be the next Vessi and have the success that you all have had, any words of wisdom that you'd like to share for brands that maybe they're right at that first million or on their march to the first 5 to 10 million?
I think we have so much to learn, Brad, that it's hard to give advice like that. But for sure, and that is a bit of a cliche, but because we came from Kickstarter, I still see that as a core value, that is community. Allowing yourself to listen to your community, to your group of customers. That can be a Facebook group. That can be a simple survey that you send once in a while. But doing that, and not only listening, but allowing yourself to pivot if necessary based on the feedback and try new things, that is what I think made us succeed through COVID, where we're questioning ourselves a lot before COVID on, we really want to engage with the community, but we also don't want to sound like a brand that is just doing that for profit. And we're always holding back on it. And once COVID hit, we got together as a team and, okay, what can we do then? Because it's not about selling now, it's about helping. And I think the first thing that a teammate said, we should help nurses and healthcare workers. They're being bitten by all of this. And we said, okay, what can we do? Let's give them shoes. That was the first answer we had. And that became first an aid towards them to help and support. But for Vessi, that created so much awareness of the brand in specific communities that we didn't dream about it. And that helped us scale as well. So there is the good side of helping your community, but there is also the scale side on the marketing side, where I was able to build segmentations, understand the new audience, and then push really hard towards that once we understood, okay, what they want to hear, how should we present ourselves.
Yeah.
And that became another strategy for us.
Yeah.
Right there. But because we allowed ourselves to pivot so quick.
Pivot quickly in terms of the giving back. Yeah.
Coming from that conversation that I just shared with you to the campaign going out, it took a day and a half.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think when everything went down last March, April, you all were, if not the first, you were one of the first to completely switch, and you just went straight giving back to the community, giving back as much as you could. And obviously, there's a saying out there somewhere that I'm terrible pulling these off the tip of my tongue, but the more that you give, it's likely that's what's going to be that magnet to pull back into what you receive back. And you all are continuing to execute that in terms of just your charitable work and giving dollars, shoes, etc. back. So I think that's been we've used you as examples with many customer conversations when others were trying to think about how can they approach the time of need and give back. So kudos to you all for that.
Thank you.
One last personal question. This is my personal favorite, usually because it'll stump. I'll get the initial reaction, but again, such a short amount of time. So when you were having that initial conversation with Tony, the founders, and where you are today, so you're a different person. So what are some changes? Who have you had to become? Who have you changed in becoming the person that you are today to lead a 40-person plus team, to scale as fast as you have, and now obviously you're not slowing down. So what have you had to change about yourself?
I hope I changed. I hope so. I think there is an understanding now how much we impact people with what we do. For a long time, I was running ads, and the excitement was the ROAS, the CPA, and still is, to be honest. I get quite pumped with it. But now understanding stories that we hear every day of how people are actually using the shoes and the impact of those. And it's a simple shoe. It's not a product that is changing your life, but for some people it actually changes. So knowing that I'm part of that made me more, I think, a feeling of accomplishment that is a bit different from a career accomplishment. It's more meaningful, I would say.
Yeah.
And that is quite unique.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's a great way to end things, Gabe. Good as always to talk. Thank you for sharing some amazing wisdom. I know many that are listening, to go from 0 to 3 years where you all are definitely fit the scaling unicorn. I think in my eyes, whether those eyes mean anything or not, that's another story. But thanks for jumping on.
Of course, my pleasure.